the cop pulled me over because I had headlight out, and I told him, "No, I don't." And like, you know, he's like, "Okay, you think I'm making this up?" You know what I mean? So it's like, so I get a freaking DUI, and you would think
Uh,
like that would be an indicator, right? But it wasn't.
yeah.
I just thought,
Yeah.
"Oh man, it's just bad luck."
I'm Shane Ramey. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast. And today we're sitting down with tattoo artist and owner of Lighthouse Tattoo out in Boise, Idaho. My friend Jeff Crabtree is here. And Jeff, man, it's great to have you on the podcast today. How are you?
Good man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, man. I've been looking forward to this conversation. So it's great to have you on the show today. And, I just kind of start us off. We met at through our buddy Jason. So shout out to Jason. And
Yeah.
we met at Warrior Heart Boot Camp. And a big shout out to all the Warrior Heart dudes out there. We appreciate them. And man, that was a great time meeting you there and just getting to know you a bit. And now, that wasn't your first time at Warrior Heart, though, correct?
That's correct, man. Yeah, no, it was. That was. Yeah, I felt like you and I had just a connection right away, and I think a lot of that is just I think we share similar backgrounds,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, that was not my first Warrior Heart, man. I love that experience. That was actually my third time there. So
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I'll definitely be going back this year, and we'll be talking about that more on the podcast in the later months to come as the next one gets. Well, I think they have them throughout the different years, but or throughout the different months of the year. But we'll have a link to that, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. Well, what was your favorite like experience or memory from that weekend? I'm just curious. Or is there anyone that stands out for you?
oh, dude, yeah. Okay, there's really two ways I can answer that. I mean, my favorite, I think, part of the experience of Warrior Heart is the vows of silence.
Yeah.
I have always found that the very first time I was there and we took part in that, it was life changing for me. And each time that I've gone back and gotten to engage in that, like it's just that silent one-on-one time with God where there's no interference, there's no cell phone, there's no noise from outside world, and it's just that intentional connection with your higher power. And
Yeah.
dude, like I crave that, and I try to implement that in my life. Back home, it's much more difficult. Even sometimes,
Yeah.
I'll tell myself, man, I'm just gonna do like 5 minutes of like, I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna try to quiet the noise in my own mind and just listen to whatever direction he's trying to send me. And it's not as easy as you would think it should be, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's so anyway, that's my favorite part of the camp. But for that particular camp, dude, like there's a lot of things that really stand out. I invited a good buddy of mine. It was his first experience, and he had a profound, life changing experience as well. And just getting to, break that down on the drive home, just getting to be a part of so many things. And then
Yeah.
honestly, dude, like when you came up to me and we got to do that group prayer boot camp style, bro, like
Yeah.
that was so cool. I felt so honored, and there was some other experiences I had with some others in that boot camp style prayer. So that's probably what sticks out to me the most from that one.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That the vow of silence was a big one for me too. That was one of my favorite parts in just getting to like just be in the moment because life is so fast paced with business and family and sports with the kids and just everything. There's a lot of noise throughout the day, and kind of trying to sift through that. And even like, you get home and you're so motivated and I set alerts on my phone and it's hard to do it every day still. I just got to admit the vow of silence. But I think the most important thing is just like being conscious of it. And so for a lot of guys out there listening, I'm sure they can relate to this too, like, of that chaos of the day. And so just for me, just slowing down sometimes, taking a couple breaths. It doesn't have to be any crazy thing where I have to sit for 20 minutes and, with my eyes shut. I mean, that'd be great too sometimes, but at least just taking a step back and being conscious and just slowing down and having that there, being in that space, man, that was so huge. Just a great like reset, just to kind of to reset and then get prayer and give prayer. And yeah, it was a really, really great experience, man. Great times for sure. So let's talk about life. Let's talk about, kind of a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up? Like what was your starting point? Give us a little history about Jeff Crabtree.
Yeah, man, happy to do that. So I grew up. I was born in Lake Tahoe, California, and
Mm,
I lived
one of my
there.
favorite places, bro. One of my
Yeah,
favorite places. Love it.
dude, it's beautiful there, man. I've got to go back and go skiing at Heavenly Valley. It was years
Yeah.
ago. It's a pretty special place on this beautiful planet we live on. But yeah, so that's where my parents are from. That's where I was born. I am the oldest of five boys, no girls. Um, and I got to go to, elementary school there. Lived in South Lake in Myers, and so I still, even though I was really little, I still have like vivid like images, memories in my mind of that time frame, and
Yeah.
it was good. And I lived there until I was about 8 years old, and then one of my brothers got really sick, and my mom was like taking him to different doctors, trying to figure out what was going on with him. He had like these purple spots all over his body, and he was getting sicker and
Mm.
sicker, and nobody. It was like a mystery. And finally, she took him to a doctor who was able to properly diagnose him and found out that it was leukemia. So, pretty serious deal. And it had progressed so quickly that they basically weren't sure if he was going to survive it. So,
Wow.
so that is really what caused us to leave that area. And then I moved to Petaluma, California, which is outside the Bay Area. And my dad has family there, and that the hospital in San Francisco, UCSF, was the only place that could like even have any chance at a case like that at the time. This was back in
Mm.
the 90s. And so anyway, so we moved to Petaluma, and my brother was in the hospital for 6 months, and he went through intensive chemo, radiation. I mean, just a lot, man. And he needed a bone marrow transplant. And at the time, so my brother, the one who got this illness, was 2.5. And then our other brother was just a newborn. And he was the only bone marrow match out of anyone. Lucky that he was a match, but my parents had to make the decision of, do we put our newborn baby through a bone marrow transplant to save our other child? Of
Dang.
course they did. So he saved his brother's life that way, along with all the treatment. So he survived, but it was really tough on the family, as you can imagine,
Yeah, I bet.
and both of my parents would switch off. One would be at home with the rest of his kids, and while the other one would stay with him in the hospital. But he came home. He had a lot of complications, a lot of from all the cancer treatment, and that was tough on everybody. He required a lot of care, but so yeah, that's, and then we ended up moving there to Missoula, Montana. And what happened was my mom and dad were on again, off again, pretty much my whole childhood. I mean, they
Mm.
struggled in their relationship. And when my brother got really sick, their relationship, their marriage was getting worse and worse. It was pretty toxic. And so
Yeah.
once my brother came out, like, I think it was a combination of just two people who had a lot of trauma in their lives, my parents, and not knowing how to really have a healthy relationship. And then combined with my brother getting sick and dealing with all that, it was like that was it, man. Like
That's a
that was
lot.
what,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that my mom was pretty much done at that point. So she packed me and my three brothers at the time into an old Chevy Citation that she had no idea if it was even gonna like make it or not, bro. Like
Yeah.
it was a pretty big deal. So she packed us four boys with no money, with nothing, and we took the trip up to Missoula, Montana, where she had some family at the time. So that's really where I grew up, was in Montana.
Montana.
Yeah, so I was 12, and so I went through grade school there. I mean, middle school there, some of high school. I ended up dropping out of high school actually in my freshman year against their advice. What had happened was once we got to Montana, that's really So I come from my mom's side of the family. There's a lot of mental health and substance abuse, alcoholism. There's a long history of that. Good people, but I mean, drinking
Yeah.
is like a normal thing. Like smoking pot and drinking is just like that's how we live life. Like,
Yeah.
isn't that what everybody does? Type of mentality. And so, that's what I was surrounded by, dude. My uncle, who I love dearly, he's no longer with us, but he really became the father figure in my life, and we lived with he and my aunt, my mom's sister, and so I mean, I remember Sunday mornings, football's on, and he's teaching me how to make egg rolls in the kitchen while him and his buddy are rolling joints on the couch, and I'd never seen that before, and I'm like,
Yeah.
God, what are they doing? I think I know what they're doing, but also too, like my aunt, he and she both drank pretty much daily, and so I remember another like my first beer. I remember it was a night she went to the bathroom, and he's like, "Hey, Jeff, come over here." He's like, "Chug this beer," and I'm like, "What?" And he goes like, "Hurry up before she comes out, right?" And he thought it was funny, and I'm
Yeah.
like 10 years old, and I freaking shotgun this beer, man, and dude, I mean, obviously, like I ran to the bathroom, it all came up right away, and I was like, "Nah, I don't know what that was. I didn't like it." But
Yeah.
that was kind of like my introduction. And then fast forward a few years, I was 14. My cousin, so one of their boys, that same aunt and uncle, he was over and he offered me a joint. He says, "You want to smoke this?" And I
Mm.
said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so we did. And that was the moment that really I felt like it's like the first time I felt this like euphoric, like, wow, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
I've never felt like this before, and I want more of this. And I will tell you, man, like I was pretty well hooked from the get go. And
At 14.
yeah, bro, yeah,
Yeah.
that marijuana was like the answer to all my problems at that time.
Yeah.
So very quickly, I became dependent on it, and it became my sole focus for, you know,
Damn, what kind of weed did they get out in Montana in the 90s? That's what I want to know.
well, it started out with that Mexican dirt weed.
That bammer with all the seeds and the stems
Oh,
and the sticks.
oh yeah, the ones that blow up like little firecrackers and give you a headache.
That's funny, man. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
just crazy though. I feel like that's so common for so many people out there that a lot of the time it's family, it's the environment that you kind of grow up in. And like you said, a lot of good people, like it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh man, this, everybody's bad because they're smoking or drinking. It's that normalcy bias that a lot of us grew up in, and they did it. They probably saw their parents do it or their parents' friends do it or whatever. And it just kind of gets passed down. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in it and you just think it's normal. It kind of sounds like where you were at, even at the young age of 14 years old.
oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's just what I thought everybody did.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't see any problem with it. In fact, I thought, well, those of you who haven't tried this, you're missing out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then you learn to escape at a young age. And I very can relate to that quite a bit. I mean, I started smoking around the same age, and yeah, that art of escapism, man, came really, really easy, and it made it really easy to run from problems or run from whatever, and just be able to kind of numb out. And man, as you start getting older and into your 20s and then you're 30, you realize, like, I don't think this is working out too well. So for you, like, where did that go? Like into your late teens and into your 20s, like, what did that look like for you?
yeah, man. So, yeah, that's exactly what happened. For a while, it was the solution until it wasn't.
Mm.
Um, but kind of, so from age 14 to 16, here's the funny thing too, is like, I look back on it now and I didn't realize that I was trying to escape. I just thought at the time, like, oh, I'm just having a good time. Like, I
Yeah.
had no idea that my life at that time, like, I didn't really know that I struggled because it was all I knew. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were on welfare, food stamps. We lived in a trailer. I didn't have a father figure around. There was a lot. My mom was constantly stressed out and suffered from
Mm.
depression. And I mean, but see, to me, that was normal. And see, it's not like I'm like, man, my life is so hard, I want to numb out. I had no idea that's what I was doing, which is so
Yeah.
crazy to think about that now.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, but it didn't take long before I realized, like, man, this is becoming a problem because it was all I cared about. I mean,
Mm.
that's the reason, honestly, that I dropped out of school as a freshman in high school because my excuse was, well, my mom needs help financially, so I need to focus on getting a job and
Getting a
helping her
job.
out because
Yeah.
yeah, because my dad wasn't around. But the truth is, dude, like I wanted to get a job so I could support my freaking habit, bro. Like it
Mm.
wasn't about
Yeah.
helping my mom,
Yeah.
But that's the story I like to tell at the time. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that of course led to other things, dude. Other drugs, street drugs. There was a period. So by the time I hit 17 years old, I kind of wanted to get out of there. Like, my mom was kind of drinking to cope with her own stuff, and I didn't like it. I didn't like some of the guys that were coming around, and you know what? For a young man to see his mom kind of struggle like that, it was too much for me. So I decided I'm out of here. Like, no plan really. And I took off, dude, and I was couch
Wow.
surfing. I got dead end jobs. I was working in restaurants, as a cook or a dishwasher, just
Yeah.
trying to barely get by. And then I ended up staying with a friend of mine, and there was a period of time for probably about 4 or 5 months where I got introduced to crystal meth,
Mm.
and I went down that path.
Yeah.
Um, that was scary because the power of that evil drug, man, is so strong.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the first time I tried that. It was like, wow, where has this been? And it took me down quick. Luckily, I was able to recognize that, how fast it was taking me out, and say, you know what, this is not what I want. I mean, at least I'm grateful that I'll just stick with the pot and the beer. You know what I mean? So I was
Yeah.
like, thankfully, dude, that stuff is scary. So it's like, you know
Yeah.
what? I got to get away
That's
from this. So,
the soul stealer, man. The soul thief, man. And I know all of them are to some extent, but that one is a different one. I've seen some people really lose it from that stuff, man. So you start with that was kind of a short term one for you. Did you not like it, or you're just like, yeah, this ain't
oh
working?
no, I absolutely loved it too much. And,
Yeah, it's usually the case for those of
but
us. Yeah.
it started to, I honestly, looking back again, I think I started to recognize somehow, all I can say, it must have been God, but what it was starting to do to my soul. And like,
Mm.
dude, I get for days, and I started to like feel disgusting, and my mind was starting to slip. And I worked really hard to get out of the restaurant scene and into a job that I felt like might take me somewhere where I had opportunity
Mm.
for growth. That happened to be at a large RV dealership, and so my cousin, a different cousin, was married to a guy, and they had like a nice house and a nice car,
Mm.
and he was working there, and I'm like, what does he do? Because the outward appearance looks like he's got like a good life for himself.
Yeah.
I don't need a diploma or degree for that because further education was the furthest thing from my mind at that time.
Yeah.
But I just want to figure out a way to not struggle and be poor. And so that was like, he was my example. So I got in at that same company, and I saw room for opportunity, room for growth. And so I was working there, and I saw quickly how fast that meth was like taking me out. And I'm like, dude,
Oh yeah.
it's gonna snatch that hope from me, and I can't let that happen, right? Like I was still
Yeah.
able to like somehow manage and cope, getting high and drunk every night. Somehow I'd show up for
Yeah.
work and hide that, but anyway, so I think that was a big part of what like helped me just say no
Yeah.
more of that, you know.
It's interesting too how certain industries, there's certain industries that have I don't even know what the word is. A culture. That's probably the right word. Like the restaurant industry, sales is another one where there's a lot of high performers who have at the same time addiction issues, whether it be alcohol, meth, cocaine, weed, whatever it is. And so I do hear that from a lot of different people. It's like, well, man, I'm kind of stuck in this industry. I mean, even talk to alcoholics who were bartenders. You know what I mean? Like, there's that that trade off there. But so when you got into this business, RVs, did that help kind of put things in perspective and give you a little bit of foundation, it sounds like, to start moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, so that's a big part of my history. So I got hired there when I was 18, and I saw a path forward. See, I had this like chip on my shoulder that I'm going to prove to the world that I'm going to be something. I'm going to
Mm.
make something of my life. Because when I dropped out of school and I was, it wasn't looking so good for me. And I had an uncle tell me one day, "You're never going to amount to anything," and I used that as fuel. You know what I mean? And just growing up how I did, like, it fueled me to want to try to do something better. So I saw an
Mm.
opportunity, and so I got hired on. I was making 6.25 an hour when I got hired on, but I saw a path forward.
Yeah.
And by the time I was 20, I started to the people I was surrounded with, my coworkers, nobody did drugs. So, but they all like went to the bars after work and the casinos, because in Montana, there's
Oh
casinos
yeah.
everywhere. Gambling's legal. So, I mean, it was pretty easy for me to go, all right, like I want to fit in. I want to be a part of this crowd here, because, this
Yeah.
better than crowd somehow in my mind, that's that, the demographic
Yeah.
it's dumb. But that's
Isn't that, well,
that's
no,
what.
it's funny though too, because it's like they just drink and smoke weed. They don't do meth, so they're way better. It's like, you know what I mean?
Exactly, right.
But that's what society tell. I mean, it's not great. I get it, but like, yeah, it's different, man. I get it.
Yeah, so I'm going to move up to a higher class.
Yeah.
So anyway, the people I was around, it was pretty easy to make that transition to just drinking, and then that's really where my alcoholism really kicked off, is
Mm.
around that 2021 time frame, age 2021.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 21, an opportunity opened up in the same department that he had worked in, my cousin's husband, and I was gunning for it. And I went to the manager and I said, "You got to give me that opportunity." And honestly, he looked at me and said, "They'll destroy you. They'll eat you alive. Like you can't. You're not
Mm.
ready for that." I said, "Give me a chance," And I was just determined. It was that crazy drive in me, and
Yeah.
they gave me a chance. The very first day that I showed up for work that day, I was, of course, like horrible flu. I was sick. I was
Ah,
sweating, but I still did it, because I'm like, I am so determined that I'm going to prove I can do this. And I got through it, dude. And I ended up working in that position for another almost 8 years. And I bought a house at age 23. Before I knew it, I was making more income than a lot of my friends were.
wow.
And I thought I was pretty cool guy. And, honestly, that just was fuel for the ego. I
Mm.
felt like I showed you guys I'm not worthless. And that's really where, again, the boozing became stronger and stronger, because it was a very high stress job. It was a
Yeah, I bet.
it was a sales of service job. So there was a reason why it paid the way it did, because it was tough, man. And I remember always being stressed about it, always. And so it's like I couldn't wait to get off work so I could go get loaded and
Yeah.
go party.
Do you think that's pretty fair to say that like sales, and you can go through many different industries, I think, but just sales in general, that is probably one of those industries and where there's a culture of alcohol and potentially drugs too, because it's like, it's stressful. There's a lot going on there. You got quotas to meet, you have deadlines to meet, you have money to make. And I feel like it creates this culture of like, we work hard, but we're also going to party hard. Construction, another one like that. It's the one I experienced, but sales is definitely like that.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I
Yeah.
saw it over and over and over again. And then another thing, I think part of that too is that I feel like a lot of us who struggle with substance abuse, we have gifts in certain ways that allow us to be
Yeah.
really good at those type of jobs, like just naturally. Not all of us, but for a lot of us. And I feel
Yeah.
like us alcoholics and addicts, we have these certain unique gifts of creativity, gifts of connecting with other people. I mean, I guess it comes in many forms, but it seems like that was a common thread too. So I guess for a lot of us, we were just like kind of naturally good at it.
Yeah.
And But
That's that's that
on the
pedal
flip
to the
side,
metal mentality. And
yeah, totally.
my wife says, you're all or nothing. You're all or nothing. I'm like, I know. I've been trying to work on it. It's really hard, and it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, I think, man.
Oh, totally.
So
Yeah.
so when did it start? Like, when did you start seeing some like negative effects and start realizing, like, wait a minute, like these habits that I'm partaking in, like this lifestyle, is causing some adversity here. It's not really, benefiting my life, my family's life. Like, when did you start realizing that, and like, what did you do?
Yeah, that's a really good question, man. And I was in denial for a long time. Again, part of that was my upbringing. A lot of it was my ego.
Mm.
Um, I thought in my mind, as long as I show up to work and provide for my family, then I'm good, right? Like,
Yeah.
why is there a
Yeah.
problem? I'm not getting in trouble. I'm not, these things. Although I did get a DUI at a party when I was 18, and the cop pulled me over because I had headlight out, and I told him, no, I don't. And like, he's like, okay, you think I'm making this up? You know what I mean? So it's like, so I get a freaking DUI, and you would think
Uh,
like that would be an indicator, right? But it wasn't.
yeah.
I just thought,
Yeah.
oh man, it's just bad luck, like,
Yeah.
So it took me a while to really be honest, and I think that really came for me into my relationship with who is now my wife, and we've been together for 22 years, and
Nice, man.
married
That's
married
awesome,
for
bro.
18. Yeah, thanks, dude.
Yeah.
We've been
Congrats.
Thank you, bro. I mean, we've been through every hell imaginable, but by the grace of God, we're still together. But so back then, she we were dating for a couple of years, and she ended up getting pregnant with our son. And when that happened, in her mind, it was time to we need to settle down and focus on building a family since we're going to do this, right? Like
Yeah.
she didn't intend on marrying me. In fact, she was, and she won't mind me saying this, but she was an only child who was raised by her mom, and her mom had some struggles of her own, and so finding someone like me who was alcoholic, addict, chaotic life felt comfortable to her, and so she
Mm.
kind of gradually, I guess, gravitated towards that, even though she
Yeah.
herself is not an addict, So it was that kind of other side, of that codependent side, and
Yeah.
so there was like a lot in the beginning of our dating. There was moments where she was going, "No, this guy's too much for me. I like him, but then
Yeah.
she got pregnant, and then it was like, all right, well, now it's time to get for real and buckle down." And I thought I was just excited to have a kid, and I just
Yeah.
thought, well, yeah, just keep going. But the more we would argue and fight, I started to see where it was causing a problem, even though I wouldn't outwardly admit that. I
Yeah.
think deep down I knew it was, and so that we started on again, off again for a while, and then we realized if we're going to have any hope, like, we need to do something different. So that's when we really made the move from Montana to Idaho, and that
Mm.
was back in 2008. By this time, our son was he was one, and then she was pregnant again with our daughter, and I left that company that I had
Mm.
been very successful at. Um, because I felt like we need to get away from our families here. Like, we need to try to focus on our family, us.
Yeah.
And and I had an aunt and uncle that lived in Boise that at the time my uncle had offered me a business opportunity. So I thought that, here we go. This is perfect. Everyone told me I was nuts. They said, "You're crazy. Why are you doing this?" I sold the house. I sold everything we owned. We packed up a little U-Haul trailer, hauled it down to Boise. And when we got here, it was June of '08, which, if you remember '08, it was a very economically, it was
Mm.
a
Yeah.
bad time for us.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, so we get here. Um, what I didn't realize at the time is that the main root of most of our issues was my drinking. But see, hadn't come yet. I started to see
Yeah.
problems,
Mm.
but it hadn't really fully hit. So we get here, and a week after we're here, my uncle pulls us into his home office and says, "Business deal's off. I'm pulling out, and now I'm stuck with nothing. I just left that job of 8 years that I worked so hard to build. I sold our house, I sold our stuff, and we're starting from ground zero. And that really kicked off. I didn't know how to cope with that. I got a
Yeah.
pregnant, we weren't married yet, but pregnant girlfriend, hopefully, and a son. And dude, it wasn't looking good. So we ended up staying there at their house for about a month, and then she couldn't take it anymore. And so I found us a little apartment,
I only laugh because like that's the first thing. Oh man, you got to stay. I mean, no offense to uncle or whatever,
Yeah.
but like, that's rough, man. Especially with two kids and trying to figure it all out. It's like, yeah. So good. I'm glad you got into an apartment pretty quick. A month's not too bad, at least.
I was about that, but only
Yeah.
because she was threatening to leave me if I didn't do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because honestly, dude, like these guys I partied with, right?
Oh
Like
yeah. Yeah.
drinking, and they were a little, I would say, back to that demographic thing, they were a little higher class alcoholics.
So was that the same uncle that gave you the beer at 10 and
Oh,
told you to shop? Okay, different uncle. Okay.
different uncle. Yeah, I got a big
Okay.
family. So
Yeah.
same side of the family though.
Okay.
So I'm like, dude, I'm in between jobs. I'm drinking every day, like sun up to sundown. He teaches me how to play online poker. So I'm like, oh, let's go, And so I'm like, when we left, I took, it was about 18 grand out of a 401k that I started to build. And that was like the only buffer that we had. But that money was dwindling really fast because I'm
Yeah.
online gambling and I'm drinking and, oh, dude, it got bad because
Damn.
So we get into an apartment, and it was shortly after that, dude, where I ended up getting a second DUI with my family in the car this time. It was horrible. One of the worst things that ever in my life. I will never forget her face as I was getting arrested. The emotion in her. My kids were in the back of the car. It was awful, dude. So I ended up going to jail. And then when I came out, she decided she had had enough. And so she left. She took the kids and did not leave Boise. I thought she would have bolted back to Montana, but she stayed. And I think she was done with me, but she wanted her kids to have a dad in their life, even if it was a screwed up situation, because she never did. And that, I will say, that was in 2009. That's when I knew this is a problem,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, dude, that was a tough time. And we separated for 6 months, almost got divorced. I told her that I wanted my family back and I would change, and I meant it.
Yeah.
I after going further down that out depth hell despair of alcohol, I said, I got to pull my head out of my ass and do something. So
Yeah.
I said, I'll change, And so after long convincing, she finally reluctantly said, I still love you too. Let's try again. And everything was good for like 3 weeks, dude. And then I'll never forget, I'm sitting in the kitchen in the apartment at the time. And I thought, I'm so happy to have my family back. Like, I feel like I'm on top of the world. I want to celebrate with just one drink, just one. And yeah, dude, that's the insanity of it, right? So
It is. Yeah.
and I thought it'll
So
be
crazy.
different this time, dude. And before you know it, that sent me down another 5 years of
Oh, wow.
daily, regular drinking. We were at each other's throats constantly. We were always fighting. She got to a point where I honestly believe she hated me, dude.
Yeah.
But she stayed. Two things. Codependency is a really powerful thing. It's not a healthy thing. It's powerful. And the fact that she was determined to have a father in her kids' lives, even if that meant she was going to suffer.
Yeah.
And but it did eventually get to a point after about 5 years where I knew she was done. And I knew it because she went from trying to get me to stop to, I don't care what you do. I'm so checked out. And that's when I really feel I've taken it too far.
So I'm trying to think how to put this. So I know there's a lot of guys out there, because I get the emails and messages and stuff too. Like, they haven't lost everything yet, at least, right? And so I think in trying to relate to that a little bit, What were some of the other things that you were going through that alcohol was affecting? Like, morale, clarity. I mean, all those, I mean, those pretty common stuff, but was there anything that like really stuck out? Like, did you know it was draining you and you were feeling this way, but you just didn't know how else to live life? Like, was there anything else that kind of stands out?
Yeah, dude. Thanks for asking that. It wasn't fun anymore. It
Yeah.
lost its appeal. Like every attempt was what I was trying to recapture the good old days, back when it used
Yeah.
to be. But no matter how many times I tried over and over, I couldn't recapture that.
Yeah.
And so, and my health was declining physically.
Mm.
I was gaining weight. Dude, I had high blood pressure. I started to feel all kinds of, the hangovers were getting worse, which almost made it impossible. I prided myself for so long that, I get up and go to work. I don't
Yeah.
miss work. I'm a
Yeah.
provider, damn it,
Yeah.
And but dude, that was right around the corner where that was going to start affecting that, and that, I
Yeah. It
mean,
starts to
and
catch up.
the wheels were starting to come off in those areas too. And to be honest, dude, I hated what it made. I was so full of anger and
Oh
rage,
man. Yeah.
and all this unresolved stuff that I didn't realize. But every time I'd put that weasel water in my body, like it would just turn me into somebody that I couldn't stand, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You just totally, well, yeah, you rob the spirit, like we said earlier, and then that authentic self is not, you're not your authentic self. You kind of don't really know who you are at some point, And I think to your point of trying to recapture that, I hear that a lot, and I know I experienced that too, and I experienced that even in like a sober state too. Like, for example, we lived in Huntington Beach for a while, a few years back, and I I miss Huntington. Like, it's a beautiful place and it's a little overcrowded now and it's changed a bit since we were there. But what I realized is I don't so much miss like Huntington. I miss that time of our lives. I miss that time when my kids were those ages. I miss those experiences. And if you kind of take that same concept and apply it to, the back in the days of drinking, you're trying to relive these moments that they're gone and they're never coming back again. And the alcohol is just the crutch almost to help kind of get you through some of that stuff. And it is tough. It's almost like, and it's almost ritualistic in a sense. Those routines, they're very, very hard to break. So like for you though, you get to this point, like where does it go from there? Like getting sober and starting to rebuild and like, have a conscious life again.
Yeah. So it was in 2015 Memorial Day weekend. We went on a long camping trip, and like all other camping trips, I drank from sun up to sundown. And at the end of that trip, we on the way home, because I couldn't drive, of course. She had to drive us home.
Real quick, why is it completely acceptable to get smashed for breakfast camping? It's completely acceptable. Like, nobody cares. It's like, yeah, grab me a beer. We're making Bloody Marys. We're drinking beers. It's 7:30 a.m. We're cooking eggs. Like, it's totally cool. Like, nobody would question it ever. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the mountains take away, yeah, all
Yeah.
that goes out the window. Yeah.
Crazy,
You're right.
man. Yeah,
Yeah, you could do it and not be judged. That's for sure.
totally.
But
Yep.
but yeah, so we had this long weekend, and on the way home, of course, she was driving again, and we got into this huge argument, bro. And I do need to say, so that brother who got ill, he survived, but in 2014, he was 26 years old. He had gotten leukemia again, and this time it took his life. And
Oh
so
man.
that
Sorry,
was
man.
that was gut wrenching in and of itself. In fact, my last time ever seeing him, I stayed the night in his hospital room, and I got so drunk I blacked out,
Mm.
and it was terrible. So anyway, he passed away, and I was using that as a self pity to drink myself into oblivion, really.
Yeah.
So it was that was in October of 2014. So now we're talking Memorial Day weekend. This is in May. Um, so it was, several months later where I was in a bad way. So we get this big argument, we get back, and for the first time ever, I choose that I wasn't going to go to work the next day like I always had. I used the excuse of my brother's passing 6 months prior. I said, I'm struggling with that. I can't go to work. I built a good reputation with my boss, and they said, whatever you need. And I went on this like 10-day bender, and it was the darkest time of my life. I was very close to death. I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking anything other than alcohol, very little. And I honestly should have ended up in the hospital. I had tried to get sober many times on my own throughout before all of this. So I had been introduced to AA before. I had gone to a few meetings, never successful. But through that, I did meet a guy that I ended up getting his number. And this was like 2 years prior. And so when I was in this space of like total desperation, I called him, and he came and picked me up, and he actually tried to take me to a detox. And the nurses came out and checked my vitals, and they said, you're about to have a stroke any minute. You need to go to the ER. And I said, well, I'm not going to the hospital. And they said, well, then you cannot stop drinking. Like you're in red zone danger, you know. And all I heard was, I got to keep drinking. But I didn't want to. At this point, I didn't want to, man. It was like, I was so sick.
Yeah.
So I got dropped off back home, and I had this moment, dude. It was a God thing where I just knew in this moment, I am about to lose everything, including my own life. Something has to happen. And so I decided I need to get some help. I didn't know what that looked like. I knew I needed treatment of some kind. AA wasn't doing it for me because I wasn't ready when I went, but I knew I needed some kind of help. So I pulled out my phone. I prayed first, and I cried out to God, and I said, please help me. And I pulled out my phone, and I started making some calls. And one thing that's important to note too is growing up, I did not grow up in a hyper religious home. I'd been to church a few times, but my grandmother, my mom's mom, was preaching Jesus all the time. She also drank 2 bottles of wine and smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. But she loved Jesus. And I thought, man, she's a good woman, and he loves her even though she's that way. And so that was like my foundation of knowing that God was real. I didn't really have a relationship, but I knew fundamentally in my heart that at this time of my desperation, God was going to have to somehow be a part of that. So when I made those calls to treatment programs, I asked the first guy that answered the phone, and I said, do you guys incorporate God into your program? And you know what, man, I will forever be grateful for this guy. I later found out his name is James, but he paused and he could have said, yeah, bro, absolutely. We got you. Come on down. We'll take care of you. The rigmarole, sales pitch. But you know what? He didn't. He paused and he said, you know what, dude, I think you need to give this guy a call. And he gave me Jason Coombs' phone number. Yeah, and that's awesome. So nobody had heard of him or this program at the time. He and his wife had just moved here from California and decided that God put it on their hearts to start a treatment program. So I called him, not expecting a call back, and he called me back, dude, and I just told him my situation. He said, come down and talk to me, bro. And so I did. I ended up meeting with him the next day. I detoxed on my couch, almost died. I had seizures. I had brain zingers. I felt like my heart was going to explode. And I know it was only by the grace of God that I didn't die on that night. But I was so sick, bro. I was DTing so bad. And I met him, and he was like the first time in my life, I felt like I was talking to somebody, because he shared his story with me, somebody who understood what I was going through. I felt like the biggest POS on the freaking planet. My shame was Mount Everest, bro. I just felt like the biggest dirtbag. And he told me I wasn't. And I see this example of this guy sitting in front of me after he shares about his own history. And I thought, wow, dude, something changed for you. I want that too. And so that's really what launched my journey. And so I
I love
you
that. I just
know?
want to say too, real quick. I think that's proof right there that, the long standing thing, I'm sure you've heard it before too, but the opposite of addiction is connection. Like that connection that you felt right there in that moment, man, is like imperative to what happens next for you too, which is crazy. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, it
Yeah.
was life changing, man.
Yeah.
Literally, life. It pivoted my life onto a whole new path.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, dude. And I remember I felt like he was genuine and that he actually cared, you know?
Yeah.
So I ended up committing to the program and I did it with all my heart and with everything that I could. I was terrified. And to be honest with you, even after all that, I wasn't even sure if I really wanted to be sober. I wanted to try. I was scared because I didn't know what, to me, a life
Yeah.
sober was a life like that I didn't want to be a part of. There's how am
Yeah.
I going to ever have fun again? How am I going to enjoy anything ever again? Like
Yeah.
that sounds like you may as well just commit me to the freaking state hospital because every time,
Yeah.
every time that I stay dry, it is misery.
Yeah.
And so
I
water,
think so many guys feel that too. There's so many guys who I hear that from. It's like how do I go to a baseball game? How do I go to a concert? How do I go to a funeral, to a birthday party, out to dinner? Like it's so embedded in the culture of our society and communities that like when that's all you know, it's absolutely terrifying to think, oh my gosh, I might have to sit here like with myself. You know what I mean? Like, what do I do? Like, yeah, that's a crazy moment. Even after all you went through too, you were still feeling it. Like, wow.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Because I mean, I didn't know what that was like to be free from that mental obsession, dude. It would always call me back. It always pulled me back. It was like, come back to
Yeah.
me. I couldn't, it was too much. So I was afraid, but I had to hang on to the idea and the hope that here was somebody sitting in front of me that has actually done it. And I will never
Yeah.
know if it's possible. I will
Yeah.
never know if I don't at least try for myself. And that's one of the things he told me too. He said, look, dude, here's the thing. You're not making a decision to quit forever. He said, you are trying something you've never done before. And if you're not happy with the results, then take your old life back. No one's taking that
Yeah.
off the table.
Yeah.
And that really helped settle me down to go, okay, like
Yeah.
I can get with that. I can try something I haven't done and see what happens, you know?
Yeah, exactly. There's no pressure there in a sense. And you said that it kept pulling you back, right? You kept having those thoughts of wanting to go back. Was there anything in particular that you felt or any tools that you had that you knew or maybe later on developed that helped when you had those urges, when you had those feelings of like, man, you know what, screw it, I'm just throwing in, I'm going back. Like what stopped you from doing that?
Yeah, so those coping skills and tools really didn't happen until I was in treatment. But there were a handful of times early on that those urges came back, and it goes back to connection, man. I had built this connection with those around me that I
Yeah.
felt like if I was to relapse or I was to just give in and do it, I would be letting these people down, and I would be
Mm.
letting my family down, and and there was times where because it was an outpatient program. So we'd be coming into a weekend and I remember very vividly, there was one time where my wife was even gone and I
Mm.
thought, well, here's my chance. No one's going to know. But it was like the one moment where I was like, but God will know and I will
Yeah.
know. And I
Oh,
know
that's
that
good.
I'm not working honestly. And so I would honestly at that time, I would just hit my knees, I would pray, and then I would go find a meeting.
Mm.
It's crazy how many meetings I would go to when I would feel like that. And even though I would be like, I don't want to be at an effing meeting, but I would force myself to go. And for somehow I didn't know why or how, but I would always leave the meeting with that thought would be gone, and I would somehow feel just a
Yeah.
little bit better, just enough to have gotten me through that moment, and the rest of the day was okay.
Yeah, that's good, man. And that's a great example, I think, of the impermanentness and everything is temporary. The urges, this life is temporary. These moments that we experience with our families and our businesses and the things that we love to do and I mean, everything, man. And so I think putting
That's
it
right.
in that perspective, like this too shall pass in a sense. Like I know I just got to get through here, and these are the couple tools that I'm going to use to get through that. So man, dude, that's pretty insane, bro. Like that, even after all of that, to the call and the feeling and the urges to go back is still, kind of haunting you in a sense. But so you make it through that. It sounds like when does it start to kind of come out and things start coming together? And then obviously I know we got about 10 minutes. I know we're a little over, if that's cool with you, but I want to hear about how you got into tattooing too. And I don't want to cut it off too, because I know Jason's a big part of your story. So maybe wrap that up first, and then let's go into the tattooing stuff, if that's cool.
Yeah, totally, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there was a 6-month treatment program. I was able to get through it. During that time, we took a deep dive into the 12 steps, and it was over time where I gradually started to experience a spiritual change within me. See, I started to develop a personal relationship with God, and the principles that I learned through those steps. It was a slow process, but that is really, at some point, is when I was released from that obsession of the mind, which I had never experienced. Now, that's not to say there weren't moments after that maybe some thoughts would come in, but they would be fleeting, and they wouldn't be like on me like before, So, so I graduate the program, and I go back to work in sales. And about a year after I graduated, I was working a lot, traveling a lot, and my marriage was suffering as a result. I was sober now, but there was still a lot of work to be done there, and that's a whole other podcast. I won't get into it, but but basically, what happened, dude, is I started to recognize that now even my job choice of career isn't working for me either, just like the booze. And I didn't know what to do because I'm a high school dropout, don't have a college degree, but I had such a profound experience at Brick House Recovery, which is Jason's program, that it was so profound to me that I was like, well, I wonder if I could be a part of that somehow. So I started talking to Jason about it, and one thing led to another. Several months go by, and an opportunity presented itself where I took a huge pay cut, but I was willing to do whatever it took, dude. Just like when I got sober, because I wanted to do something that was fulfilling, and my wife was on board and supported it. So I ended up going to work with him, and I got to work in the program for almost 6 years, and that was a huge part of my life and story where I was able to work with hundreds of alcoholics and addicts and families, and that was life-changing for me as well. So yeah, dude, like that. And then, what started to happen was my life started to change so dramatically that the thought of trading what I now had for a drink was just not an option,
It's great, man. Yeah. Just that momentum and that, grace that God gave you, your family, and really, another life in a sense. I mean, because you were really close to death too by the end there. So just probably the gratitude in that you're feeling. And man, I love that. Like, Jason gave you that opportunity to not only to get sober and a new path, but then like to come work and be able to give back through that, and something that you experience yourself and now speaking to other people and give them. I mean, that's got to be super, super fulfilling. And I could totally see why. It's like, I'm not going back to that crap. Like, look at my life now. Like, why would I do that? You have so many good things.
Yeah. And I had a constant reminder because I would see people relapse. So I didn't have to test it out for myself. I would see it over and over again. They always wanted to come back. So I thought, okay, well, I don't need to find out for myself,
Yeah. Yeah. That's great, man. So how'd you get into tattooing?
Yeah. So great question, bro. Okay. Since I was a little kid, remember I talked about a lot of us have certain gifts. Well, being artistic is one of mine. It does run in my family. There was a lot of artists, aunts, uncles, cousins that are all to this day are incredible artists. Well, I always loved it. When I was about 13 or 14, I started to get into love tattoos. So I knew back then that was like my dream job. Well, then drugs and alcohol took that from me and robbed me of that dream and that desire. Well, so this is a cool story. I'll try to keep it brief. During COVID, when we were all on the weird lockdown,
So
my
weird.
daughter, dude, it was so weird.
Yeah.
My daughter approached me because we were all just kind of sitting around and said, Dad, why don't you draw anymore? And I
Mm.
said, oh, I can't do that. It had been like 20 plus years because,
Wow.
the booze killed that. So,
Totally. Yeah.
and, and I said, well, I don't know, Dad. And she just kept on me. She said, Dad, let's draw together. Let's do this. And then so she said, why don't you draw a picture of our family dog? And so for the first time in 20 plus years, I actually sat down, I got some graphite pencils and I
Uh-huh.
gave it an honest effort. Right. And it was during that fun and that passion was what came
Oh,
back. And this
that's so
was,
cool.
it was about 5 years into my sobriety. So I shared it on social media, and of course, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!
That's cool.
Would you do that for me? Well, I'll pay you." So I ended up. I started selling artwork. That way, I was doing portraits of pets,
Yeah.
and I was having a blast, dude. I was loving it. I'm like,
Just like
wow, like
genuine fun.
yeah, dude, like all that desire like that I used to have came back, and it came back with like a vengeance, dude. It was cool.
Yeah.
So I started selling artwork, and then my brother was like, "Bro, why aren't you tattooing? You always wanted to." And so again, well, all the excuses, right? Well, he starts sending me all this like information on like resources and like practice materials. Like they make fake skin, and like here's a link to buy some equipment, So I'm like, whoa, man, this is maybe I should try it. So I ended up I had a dirt bike that I sold, and I just took the money and I bought tattoo supplies, and I know I have a lot of ink myself, and so I've had a lot
Yeah.
of experience with other artists over the years, got to know some guys. And so I just used those resources and then used what resources that I could find online, and decided I would give it a try. And
Yeah.
dude, like at first it was not like drawing.
A little
my
different.
Dude, my first couple lines were
Yeah.
terrible, like on fake skin.
Yeah.
But it was like the challenge though, like was so intriguing to me. I was like, I have to learn this, like, and it just
Yeah.
became this, like obsession and this passion. And then, dude, like friends and family started coming to me, and then, a few months into it, God, it's always God. I'm sitting at my house on Super Bowl Sunday, and a buddy in recovery calls me, and he's like, dude, some friends of mine own a shop. They're looking for an artist. These guys are
Oh wow.
sober. They're Christian. And I'm like, wait a second. Sober Christian tattoo shop. Those don't go together. So what are you talking
Yeah. It's a little like, wait, what?
about? Yeah, dude. And so he's like, no, I told them about you. They want to meet you. So I said, okay. And I'm still working at Brick House with Jason, I'm like,
Yeah.
I love my job. Like I'm
Yeah.
not looking for a job, but I'm gonna explore this. So I go and I talk to them, and they're like, we want to see you do an audition piece. And that same brother who's like, dude, get into this, was here in town because he still lives in Missoula, but he was in town, and he's like, bro, I'll let you ink me
Oh
up. So he
yeah.
went down to the shop, dude, and I swear, man, I'll never forget. I was sweating bullets, and I'm like, I'm brand new, dude. Like I don't know what not really what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
it was just the passion, the obsession, my artistic ability that God gave me, and just all the things, and like the fact that it was my brother, and I prayed, and all the things, and like I just laid down this like really badass tattoo, and they said, dude, like we would love to have you. And I said, well, here's the thing, like I'm not looking to leave my job. And they said, well, whatever. Well, if you want to do this part time,
Yeah.
we'd love to have you in the shop and give you a chance. And so they did, man. And I ended up learning from some of the other artists, and I spent about a year there, and just tried to learn what I could, and just one thing led to another, dude. And just the fact that that I'm sober now, and that God gave me that desire back, like the combination of that, and He just put He put that passion in my heart again,
Yeah.
and I could
Yeah. I
tell,
love
like,
that.
yeah, and it was going somewhere, and so it just grew organically, and it got to a point where I started to get really busy, and starting to get
Yeah.
booked out, and
Yeah, I was gonna say, it got to a point where I can't even get on your books, bro. Like I gotta like schedule a year out, man, which is a good thing for you. But you know, for guys trying to get tattooed, it's all out there listening. If you're ever in the Boise area, you know, Lighthouse Tattoo, but you might have to book out like a year. I got to get on your books, by the way, too. Maybe the spring or summertime you can squeeze me in or something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'll take care of you. I promise.
Yeah,
But,
dude, but I mean, that's so amazing, bro. Like how, like, I mean, gosh, and I love the part too of. Like as we grow, God, I totally agree. God gives us these gifts, right? He gives us these passions. A lot of it happens in childhood, and then we grow older and we get responsibilities. Some of us have issues in life. We get jobs, we get families, and like we forget about this part of us that is so passionate about whatever it is, you know, whatever that thing is. And I encourage a lot of guys, like, what is that you used to do? It could be as simple as riding a bike. How long has it been since you rode a bike? Oh man, it's been like 25 years. I used to do BMX and race, and man, it's the best years of my life. Well, go grab a bike and get on it and go ride it. You know what I mean? And you're going to feel like you're 12 years old again, man. And that passion starts to come up and you start to feel it. You start to feel alive again. And I think that's a big thing with a lot of guys. We get to a point in our lives and we feel dead. Our spirit's dead. We have no connection to God. We're numbing out. We're trying to, you know, keep it all together and raise the family and pay the bills and do all the things. But it's like, there's nothing to like look forward to sometimes, man. So you tapped back into that. And now, you know, you have a full career about it, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah. And I want to speak to that for the listeners, man. Like if you're facing a situation like that, where like you said, man, it used to be riding a bike. It used to be playing baseball. It used to be whatever, like that little voice in your head is going to tell you that you can't do it anymore, that you're not good enough, that all the things. But I'm going to tell you right now, as Shane just said, do not listen to that voice. Just put yourself out there. Just give it a shot and you might be surprised. And you know what? If it's not the riding of the bike or the baseball, maybe it's something different now. But the point is, like, don't let that voice stop you. That's I think that's important.
I love that, man. Thanks for sharing that too. I mean, because it's absolutely huge. That little voice up there, man, gets in the head and starts saying, like you said, oh, you're not good enough. You're too old. You know, you don't make enough money or whatever it is. And, you know, we fold to that a lot of the time because even if we don't believe it 100%, it's enough doubt. And that's what the enemy does. We know that, right? Creates doubt. And when we get that little inkling of doubt, man, sometimes God has a path for us, but maybe we don't walk through that door. And that's, you know, that's unfortunate. All the time at least. But let me, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so, you know, I really was interested in finding, you know, my own space, and I didn't know what that looked like. Never done this before, right? Like, I don't know I don't know how to start a business, but one thing led to another. God continued to open doors. We found the perfect place in Boise. My wife ended up getting into permanent cosmetics, found that she had a passion for that. So we get to work together now. She does eyelash extensions and permanent cosmetics. And we have this like amazing little spot that, you know, was all provided from him. And it just grew and grew. And so I got to a spot where I had to make a decision because I was for 2 years, I was tattooing and working in recovery. And, but I had to make a choice, right? Like, am I going to go all in? Because I can't get to where I want to go with it if I'm just 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And I'll tell you, dude, it was a hard decision to make for many reasons. I mean, I loved helping people in recovery. I loved Brickhouse and Jason and all the team there. But at the same time, I wanted to honor this calling in me. And so I had to make a decision where, was I going to trust God? And that was scary, dude, financially, all the things, right? Like there's no guarantee. And so I sought through prayer, meditation, and I kept getting confirmation, like, this is what I have in store for you now. And so I had the conversation with Jason. Of course, he was supportive. He was sad because, you know, that relationship wasn't going to be the same. But we have remained close friends. He's a dear brother of mine to this day, as you know, I've shared with you. and he's always supported us, dude. But anyway, so we made that decision, and God has just blessed it ever since, bro. And like you said, yeah,
That's
my
cool.
calendar's booked out. Wow, but dude, it's
Yeah.
like, dude, it's so rad though, because here I am now that living this dream life, like this dream
Yeah.
job with, after years of hard work and counseling and willingness on my wife's part to work her own program, recognizing her own stuff.
Mm.
And then at the center of all that, obviously, is God. Like I have like what most people would think, what I thought would never be possible, is now
Yeah.
a reality in my life, and it's incredible, dude. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's awesome, man. And I love that you, just to call this out, you mentioned, your wife has her own things to deal with and to work through. And I think that's a really important aspect of all this. In my story, in your story, in a lot of guys' stories out there. Number one, God bless our wives. Thank you so much for sticking by us and like being there, because you and I have talked, and man, I mean, that we share some of those same commonalities, I think. But a lot of the time too, you have a spouse or someone who's going through something, addiction, whatever it is, and they have their own issues, but the spouse sometimes can get left to the side, and they think, well, just because I don't have the addiction issue, they're the ones that need the help and need to work on it. Nah, man, we got to do that stuff together. Like Jess and I did a couple step studies together in CR, and like she had her own issues and I had my own issues, and we were able to do that like separate, but together at the same time. And I think I put that on the foundation in God, but then of course doing that work, man, it's been crucial in the longevity in our relationship too, as friends, as, as husband and wife, as parents, all that. It's so, so crucial. So for those out there listening, if you're a spouse of somebody, like, you are just as important, and your walk and the work that you do is just as important to keep that together and to keep going strong in that too. So I love that you pointed that out. I just wanted to call that out real quick before we wrap up.
Oh yeah, man. I couldn't say that enough. Not only is it not possible without two people being willing, but you will reach new levels of intimacy and love and connection in your relationship than you even ever thought possible. When two people are willing to be humble and honest enough to say, you know what, like, they're not the only problem here. Like, maybe there's some things that I need to take a look at. And then both people do that. Oh man, get out of the way, because you're in store for a treat. Like, you don't, I mean, for real, because I mean, let's be honest, it's really hard to do. Right. And to do that level of work and humility, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of things, and it's hard. And that's why most people avoid it. But it, just like anything else, I mean, if you're willing to look at that and you put in that work, the rewards are eternal. I mean,
yeah, amen. One last question, then we'll wrap up. So from a business standpoint, Jeff, you have one of the top tattoo shops in the Treasure Valley, the Boise area, Lighthouse Tattoo. Like, how has a sober mind, how has that foundation in God, like, how has all of that together made you a better business owner, made you a better leader, made you be able to create like this great culture in your shop that people want to keep coming back to over and over?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I think it's just putting others before myself, and recognizing that it's not about me, and just having that place where people could come to do something that ultimately, from an industry standpoint, has often been maybe looked on a certain way, but it's an expression of self. There's a lot of just cool. It allows me to connect with people in there on a more deeper personal level, and it's so cool, dude. Like, aside from the artwork itself, like, obviously I love that. I think I love even more just the relationships and the connections I get to have there. And so the fact that I'm sober and I'm present allows me to be a much better artist, and to be able to show up, to be to care about things like trying to take care of my body and be healthy, and so that I could show up for others and just have a really freaking rad experience.
Yeah, I love it, man. What's the wildest, weirdest tattoo request that you've ever gotten? Do you have one that stands out?
Oh man,
You probably got a
I
lot,
haven't.
actually.
Dude, I have. Okay, so when I was in the other shop, there were some things. I haven't gotten anything too crazy. I'll say a cool one though. It's kind of funny. Um, a guy that actually we go to church with. He's really big into duck hunting, and he's
Mm.
really big into Lego Batman. And he said, "Bro,
Wow.
I want you to do a realistic Lego Batman hunting a duck with his batarang."
Now that is some OG original stuff right there. That's funny.
It was super cool, dude. We did it. We both
Yeah.
loved it. It was fun. It was. We had a blast. It was. I was laughing, but it was fun, man. So
What's your favorite style to tattoo? Or like what do you have a one that you love doing the most or
yeah, definitely. I try to be pretty diverse, but the I would say the two that I do the most are black and gray realism,
oh
and
nice.
I do a lot of like fine line floral work. A lot of females really love
Nice.
that. So I've gotten pretty versed in that as well.
Yeah. I have to look at the black and gray. I got a lot of color on me, but it's just always something that I've liked. I just don't have any of it. That's cool. I'm going to keep that in mind as I book something with you. Okay. I promise this is the last one. I know we got to go, but
Oh, you're good.
what's one stereotype about tattoo artists that drives you crazy because it's not correct? Or is there something that stands out?
Oh yeah, that we are um, that we don't that we think we're better and cooler than everybody else.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because you can't get that vibe. I've been into a lot of tattoo shops, traveling different places and stuff. And there is some that you walk in and you're just like, man, like I feel really out of place here. You know what I mean? Like they just don't. Maybe it's not as welcoming, I guess, as it could be or should be. So yeah, I could see how that would be a stigma there. Oh
Yeah, for
man.
sure.
Good stuff. Well, where can folks reach out? Where can they find you? Where can they connect with you, Jeff?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So we have a website. It's lighthousetatoOidaho.com. You can see my work, my wife's work on there. Also, I have a lot of work on Instagram. It's at lighthousetattoo.id for Idaho. And I'm on TikTok as well under Lighthouse Tattoo. So
Awesome. Jeff, you're the man, dude. We'll put those links in the show notes too. So those out there listening, they're very easy for them to find. And dude, I really appreciate you being open and just sharing your story, man. Thank you so much. That was a really good convo with you. Went longer than we expected, but that's usually what happens when we have a great conversation like that. So thanks again for coming on the show, man.
dude, it's my honor, bro. I appreciate it, man. Love you. Love you.
Yeah, love you too, bro. Thank you. Thanks for tuning into That Sober Guy podcast. If you enjoyed the show today, be sure to share it with a friend. Take care. God bless. Keep your blood clean.